Hey everybody, this is Modern Refugee. I had somebody ask me in the comments of my previous video if I could do a video on a list of things that they should prep or prepare for without a lot of money leading up to November 5th. And the big thing, there's three things with November 5th that I am concerned about, or things that are on my radar more or less. And the first one is, of course, civil unrest and everything that goes along with civil unrest. I've had a lot of time over the years to research different civil unrest incidents that have taken place, and I'm fortunate enough to know people who lived through the riots in Detroit that took place in the 1960s. And there were certain things that took place during those riots that I think would be pertinent to know, for people to know and to prepare for. So civil unrest is one. And then the next thing is some type of cyber attack or cyber incident that takes down some type of critical infrastructure during this process that's going on here. And the reason I say that is there are individuals that do not like us and want to cause as much problems as possible and get us quarreling amongst ourselves. And the best way to do that is to cause more problems. The whole compounding SHTF thing that I have talked about in other videos, SHTF events have a way of compounding. And then the third thing is some type of international incident that takes place that's severe, that causes some type of disruption at the same time. We'll use oil as an example. Something happens in the Middle East that curtails global oil output or transportation, whatever. And the first thing that I'm going to mention is food and water. You should have food and water. I have grown up and lived a lower middle class lifestyle my entire life. I've never been able to go out and just buy $1,000 worth of stuff and stash it away in my pantry. It's been small things. I grow small gardens. I can stuff. I purchase. If there's something I purchase, I buy one, maybe buy two or three, put those extra ones up, and that's how I've built my pantry over the years. Another thing when it comes to food, I think everybody should have a basic 30-day supply of stuff at their residence to take care of themselves. And when it comes to food, if there is some type of event that's going on, you don't want to cook elaborate meals. And, there's pre-made stuff out there that you can get, but basic stuff from the grocery store that you already eat, whatever it might be, tacos one particular night a week, or if you like chicken and rice, that kind of stuff. And I use chicken and rice a lot as an example because I got canned chicken here, I got rice here. I can throw some Asian seasonings into that, some curry, soy sauce, whatever, and I can make that a one-pot meal. And if there is something going on, you don't want to cook elaborate meals, one-pot meals, things like soups, stews, things that are quick and easy to make, canned chicken, minute rice, little soy sauce, little water. Doesn't take a lot to cook stuff like that. So you want to keep your menu basic, and it should be things that you already like and want to eat. Pasta with a little Parmesan cheese on it, whatever. And these are the things that are easy to make during stressful situations. Water is another thing. Most people have either a well or city water. And right now, if you don't have a lot of money, put some water up. Have a few gallons of water. For something happens where you don't have access to water, you still have enough water there to drink and do basic hygiene stuff. You should have natural sources of water where you can find. But the problem with them is they can be contaminated. So then you would need some type of filtering system. So those are different things. There's different filters out there that you can get anywhere from $20 to the sky is the limit. And I think the basic thing for most people that's the cheapest is just take water now when it's good and store some somewhere. And then, of course, if you have to boil it or whatnot, that's simpler to do than go ahead and filter it. But if that water's already clean to begin with, even if it sits for a little bit, you can boil it and you're still going to be good to go. Another thing is if you have any access to like hand pumps, a lot of parks, a lot of state parks and stuff around here still have hand pumps, hand wells. I still know houses and people that have hand pumps and hand wells. That, again, is kind of like your stored water. If you have access to some type of pump, you can pump yourself a couple of big jugs full of water. And if you got to boil it, that's a lot easier than it is to try to get chemical contaminants and dissolved solids and that stuff out of the water. So take a drive around, explore your area, and find where there is some water sources. Security and protection. Civil unrest begs for security, and there's a lot of different ways people could look at security. The best way is situational awareness. If something doesn't look right to you, get out of there. Try not to plan things where there could be potential civil unrest, and protect yourself the best you can. During the riots in Detroit, things like gasoline, firearms, ammunition, those sales were all banned. That stuff was all shut off during those civil unrest things. So if you are inclined to have some type of defensive implement, that stuff all has to be gotten ahead of time. But situational awareness doesn't cost anything, and it will keep your head up and looking around, and it will get you out of trouble. If something doesn't look right, get out of there. And those are some of the things that, like I said, if you see something that in your gut doesn't look right to you, it probably isn't. So you always trust your intuition, and you keep your situational awareness and basic things. We've had a rash around here this summer of things getting stolen out of vehicles. Keep your doors locked. Keep your doors locked. Turn lights on before you go outside. Check things out before you, venture out into even your own neighborhood, because things can change, situations can change. And another thing was basically shut off during these civil unrest events was fuel, because people can do bad things with a bottle of gasoline, so that kind of stuff. You want to keep your vehicles full so you can get out of the area. If there's some type of price spike, something happens where there's an electrical problem, gas pumps run on electricity. If electricity is down, you're not going to be able to pump gas, because 9 chances in 10, if there is some type of civil thing going on, something might happen where you have to move from one place to another, and you want to make sure that your gas tank is full. So I recommend everybody keep their gas tank full all the time. I literally fill up as much as I possibly. If I drive 20 miles somewhere, I'll fill up when I get back home, because that 20 miles might be the difference between danger and safety. And you don't want to be 1 gallon short and leave you in a dangerous situation. So gasoline and fuel is another thing. And like I said, you just keep your, if your gas tank's already full and you got to put in $10 every other day, that's a heck of a lot cheaper than wait until it gets all the way down to E and you got to fill the whole thing up at $60 or $70, whatever that is. Another thing is medication and hygiene. Hygiene, things to clean yourself and to clean your clothes are the 2 biggest things with hygiene, and then stuff to clean like your pots and pans, whatever. And basic stuff, bar soap. I like bar soap. I actually make homemade soap myself, so I like bar soap. It's easier to store, it lasts forever. Liquid soap I've had problems with over the years. Sometimes it can freeze, the bottles can break open, causes those kind of problems, especially if you got it in a pack or a suitcase or something like that. So I like bar soap. And when I was growing up, bar soap is all we had. The whole soft soap hand thing that we got nowadays, that didn't exist until the last about 20 years. Ways to clean your clothes, so some detergent, whether you make that yourself or you go ahead and make your own laundry soap, or you have the regular laundry detergent on hand, and even a 5-gallon bucket and a plunger, a way that you can basic wash your clothes, socks, underwear, pants, shirt, whatever. Those are things that I think that everybody should have. Medicine, do whatever you can if you're on prescription medication to have a 30-day supply of that stuff on hands at all times. Because after a 30-day period of time, reality might change, things might open up again. It might not be the same world that you lived in before, but by then, things are going to start pointing you in the direction of what it might be. Things might become available again, but 30 days worth, and then you don't have to go out. And that's a big thing too with civil unrest is you don't want to go out and travel as much as you possibly can, because travel will be curtailed during civil arrest events. That's pretty normal. So even if you have to pay cash for a prescription, to have an extra one on hand, that might be the best bet. And then have enough stuff for basic boo-boos, basic cuts, scrapes, burns. I'm going to mention here because people are used to cooking in their kitchen, but if they would have to cook on something other than their kitchen, camp stove, open fire, whatever, burns are an extremely common occurrence when you're working with fire, whatever you call it, whether it's out of a canister of gas or whether it's out of a propane burner or whether it's out in a fire pit. So you want to have stuff to take care of burns. You want to have your sterile bandages, you want to have your Neosporin creams, your Neosporin ointments, things like Dermaplast, things like lidocaine to relieve the pain of those kind of things. You want to have that stuff. And then, of course, all that other stuff can be used for cuts and, maybe a splint. There's just basic things that can help you out. Now, I know the trauma kits are the big thing in the prepper sphere nowadays, and you can have that stuff too, but anytime you're going to use one of those trauma kits, you're going to need another layer of care on top of that stuff because most people can't. Really traumatic injuries, you're going to need a hospital and a surgeon. But them small basic things, along with the medication that you already have, can get you through that 30-day period. Another thing is energy. Now, I'm fortunate enough to have a generator. It took me years to save up and get that all squared away. But if you don't have a generator, don't have the means to get a generator, basic small things to keep your basic devices, your phones, your laptops, your iPads, that kind of stuff, to keep that stuff running. I have a whole stack of charging blocks here. I've been picking them up here or there whenever they've been on clearance for literally years, keep them charged up. We rotate through them, use one, charge it, grab another one, and we keep those good so we have our devices charged up if that stuff is still available. Another thing is batteries for small things like small shortwave or AM/FM radios. If everything else goes down, it'll revert back to information being on radio. So you want to be able to, patch into a shortwave channel or a regular FM station to get news, weather, events, that kind of stuff. Instructions, all those things are important. And the other thing is lights, headlamps, flashlights, battery-operated lanterns, because up here in the north, it gets dark, and it gets dark pretty early, and it's going to be like that until, it'll keep getting darker quicker every day until the 21st of December, then it'll turn around again. So November, December, January especially, we do a lot of stuff in the dark. So headlamps, flashlights, and then batteries to go along with that. I probably got 20 headlamps here in different packs and whatever, because that gives me the ability to work on things in the dark. Bad things happen in the dark. You might have to crawl up on a roof and fix something during, because your wood stove chimney messed up. You got to go up there at night and fix something. Somebody might get hurt at night. You might have to fix that up. You always have to repair something. When something breaks down, it's going to be at night. So that headlamp can be extremely important as far as getting things around. So, batteries, headlamps, walkie-talkies, if you're cool with your neighbors and that kind of stuff. That stuff can be extremely helpful. Even if you only live a few hundred yards away from your neighbors, if you both have a walkie-talkie on the same channel, you can talk back and forth and, keep an eye on things and do it that way. Sort of the whole neighborhood watch concept. And, you want to get with your local community. And when I say community, not everybody's got a prepper group. Your family is your first prepper group, and, your neighbors and close friends are your next prepper group, and it's good to sort of have a plan. Hey, if something happens, hey, there's some storms coming in, there's this that could go wrong. Those things can all happen in anywhere. And if you already got sort of a plan with your neighbors, you can say, hey, you know what? Something happens, I can help you out, you help me out. That's all good. And that's all stuff that's set up in advance. The community aspect that people talk about in the prepping channels, I feel that a real community isn't going to be able to form until something bad does happen, because you don't know who's going to bounce. You don't know who is going to stick around and who isn't if something bad happens. You're not going to know that stuff until it actually happens. People can talk the talk, but until it comes down, when the rubber meets the road, you might have somebody that's talked it all up and he's the biggest prepper in the whole wide world, but then something happens and he just skedaddles on you, and you guys were maybe dependent on him to do, this or that, or to help out or to organize, and now they're gone. A lot of times your prepping group is going to be whoever's sticks around, and that's the big thing. And there's going to be people around after an SHTF situation. You're not going to get around that. People are always the variable when it comes to these type of SHTF situations because everybody reacts differently to that. So that's something to keep in mind. Another thing when it comes to these type of events is movement's going to be curtailed, and you're not going to live the same lifestyle that you lived before the event. And cyber is one thing. It can take out the water, it can take out the internet, it can take out the communications, it can take out electricity. So those cyber events, it can take out fuel distribution, it can stop cards from working. There's just a lot of things, and that's where it comes in to have a little bit of cash on hand. Doesn't have to be a ton, and have your bills paid up. Having your bills paid up can solve a lot of problems. I lived a lower middle class lifestyle. There were times when we couldn't pay a bill, and then just compounds the next month. But if something happens and you got everything paid up and you're a little bit late the next time, you don't run the risk of having those utilities shut off. And that's another big thing. That's kind of the economic preparedness aspect of it. These are just all small things, keeping your bills paid, have food, have water, have a plan for security, keep your situational awareness up, have small electronic devices that produce light, give you information, have ways to charge things if you don't have a generator. And have yourself in a position where if something happens where you had to stick close to home for a month, you're good to go, and then see once what the new reality is going to be, and then you can react to that stuff. And SHTF events, they like to compound, so you're going to have one problem that might lead into another problem. And if there's anything that you need to have fixed, and that includes your body, try to get that stuff done. If you can get, you can get a doctor's appointment in before November 5th, get dentist stuff done before November 5th. Try to get all that stuff in too, and then kind of take a wait and see attitude. Keeping your vehicle up to date, make sure that everything's good on that, because I believe in keeping the gas tank full. I'm telling you, man, 20 miles can make a difference between safety and, danger. 1 gallon of gas might be the difference between that 20 miles safety and danger. So always keep your gas tank full. That's just a big thing that I'm on, and it doesn't require a lot of money. But I wanted to go over these things because of that comment. It's basic stuff, basic preparedness, and all the stuff that I've talked about here, can be used in a lot of different SHTF events, and you can't prepare for every single thing that could possibly happen, because that's just the nature of a life. But if your pantry's full, you got some water, you got a few of these other things covered. If something happens where you can't get fuel, or the electricity goes down, or there's something crazy in one town over where you might have to do some type of business or something, you see that ahead of time and you avoid that whole situation. You postpone things a little bit. You can see once what the world's going to be like afterward, and you can be a little bit better prepared. But anyway, this is Modern Refugee. I wanted to respond to that comment. I hope people got a little bit of information out of this video here. And if if you think that this video can help somebody else, please feel free to share it. That's why I do this stuff. The more information that gets out, the more people that can prepare, the better, and the more resilient society that will be. But anyway, I appreciate you guys out there. You guys take care.